Trish Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Asante, back here once again to review tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. This being the go-home episode of Dynamite before AEW Dynasty on Sunday. And I've been noticing the last couple of weeks that it's really annoying that it's both DY at the start of that because it's making my autocorrect go crazy.
Wait, what? For what?
Like, so every time I do hashtag AEW DY for Dynamite, Dynasty comes up first, and it's driving me nuts. A lot happened on this show. It was very cool. I first want to just give a quick shout out to everybody. I believe they were in Peoria, Illinois tonight. Apparently, there was some rough weather there with big storms and tornadoes and stuff. So hopefully everyone's doing all right there in Illinois. Hence the Chicago stuff. It's the closest thing I had. So... Hey, this is a cool vintage, authentic warm-up. Anyway, a lot went on the show tonight, so let's get into it. We're going to start at the top of the show, or at least with the first match, where we saw Marina, Shafir, and Jon Moxley team up in a mixed tornado tag team match, which is the first time I think I've ever said that phrase in my life, against Swerve, Strickland, and Willow, Nightingale. I didn't know this was a tornado tag until it started, when they all jumped each other and Excalibur yelled it, and I was just like, that's even better than what I was expecting. And it absolutely was. As we headed into the first commercial break, we had Marina put Willow through a table off of the apron, and it looked kind of ugly because Marina had Willow's leg above her, over her neck. I was trying to figure out what she was doing. I think Big E used to do that every once in a while. That's not a stretch muffler, is it?
So it originated with Brock. Or at the very least, that was the first time I ever saw it. He called it the Brock Lock. And then Big E did it near the end of his career, which is so sad to say.
I know.
But he started doing it near the end of his career. And it is killer on the hammy and it is killer on the knees.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's called the stretch muffler, but it might be. I might be confusing with something else. Either way, Marina was trying to lift Willow up doing that, which was insane and probably not a great idea because as Marina finally lifted Willow up, she didn't get her up that high, and Willow just kind of dropped into the table, and she landed high on her neck. So it looked like Willow was able to save it, though, but in real time, it looked pretty ugly. Later in the match, towards the end, after hitting a flatliner onto Moxley, Swerve lined him up for a house call, but when Swerve went for it, Marina shoved Moxley out of the way and ended up eating the kick. And then Swerve's just like, oh shit, I kicked a woman. And Moxley starts to come to on the apron, but Willow, who was on the outside, comes rushing into the ring and pounces Moxley off of the apron through another table, taking him out. Swerve then looks at Willow and goes, get her! And Willow goes and power bombs Marina and pins her for the W. After the match, the Willow and Swerve are celebrating, and Swerve turns his back to go up onto the ropes to celebrate. And Moxley kind of had staggered into the ring to check on Marina when he bumped back to back with Willow. So he turned around, grabbed her, and hit her with a paradigm shift before quickly getting the hell out of there with Marina. And then Willow was checked on by both Doc Samson, Swerve, and Prince Nana. So, James, this match rocked. It was kind of everything I wanted from it because the tornado aspect, I think, helped the fact that Tony Khan really doesn't like the women fighting the men.
Yeah.
But you had a good amount of, mixed...
Teases.
Yeah, you had a good amount of, mixed attacks between the two teams. And then the teases, and eventually you ended up with both women being hit by finishers. One very clearly inadvertently by Swerve, and the other one on purpose by Jon Moxley. So I thought this was a great way to kind of get around the women violence thing, or at least for the most part that they have in AEW, because it didn't feel to me like any time they were ever hindered by one person not being allowed to attack the other.
I agree. And I think it benefited the story they were telling to how they did it.
Yeah.
First off, unpopular opinion. I think I just like tornado tags better than regular tag team matches.
I do. I 100% do. They are one of my favorite matches in wrestling.
I understand why every tag team match can't be a tornado tag. It changes the storytelling, like the flow of a tag match, but I don't particularly care. They're fun when we get them. Two, I think it's fair to say, I think you'd agree, the Death Rider storyline has done a great job of making Marina feel threatening, feel imposing, feel like a badass.
Yeah.
Sometimes infuriatingly so, because we know she's never getting her comeuppance, although they've been doing better with that. But she
got the chair toad last a couple of weeks ago, so
is efficiently badass.
Yeah.
I loved the moment where Mox was threatening to hit the paradigm shift onto Willow. And in turn, Swerve was threatening to hit big pressure on Marina, and they were at a stalemate. In a cool moment. But beyond that, I loved Marina yelling, do it. Do it. She did not care if she take out Willow. I loved it. I thought that was so cool on her part. End of the match, unfortunate with that botch from the camera that we did not see Willow pushing Mox through the table.
Yeah. Shout out to them at least giving us the replay when we got back from commercial before the next segment we go through. But unfortunate timing on their part with the camera work. And I also thought it was a little funny. You could tell when Mox went into the ring after the match, he was looking for Willow, like for the spot, beyond the match, like beyond the storyline. Mox was looking so he could bump backs with her and set up the spot. And you could tell he kept backing up, unable to find her. He kept shifting over, and he kept shifting to try and catch her, and it just never happened. So that's why he just turned and just grabbed her and did it. And I thought that was funny. He did kind of bump her, but I took it as him. I guess maybe it was just him trying to cover it. It looked like he was just, kind of drunkenly staggering around from drunkenly being a poor choice of words with Moxley, but staggering around. Yeah,
and that's how he's
going to a table.
That's how he sold it. He did the best he could in trying to make that spot work, given that it just wasn't. But yeah, he was looking for her, and it was funny. I thought this was a great way to start the show, and it definitely set the stakes for what would come later with how angry Swerve is, rightfully so. Swerve accidentally kicked Marina.
Yeah.
They took advantage of it because it's war, but he accidentally hit her. Mox knew exactly what he didn't like. He saw Swerve on the corner. He knew he wasn't grabbing Swerve. He knew he was grabbing Willow, and he knew he was going to drop Willow. So I think that we're seeing just a dark Mox right now. No surprise. I mean, he's done worse throughout this, but just that dastardly heel.
Yeah, especially too because he could have, instead of going after Swerve, he could have went after Nana too.
Yeah,
but he chose to go after Willow
because
she was the one to put him through the table, and because Marina had been attacked. So I probably more the former than the latter, but. Let me say that he's at least not loyal to Marina. We've seen multiple times that he has done things to help bail her out, including even during this match, as you mentioned earlier, when he decided not to hit the paradigm shift on Willow because Swerve had Marina up for big pressure. So, I like this match. It told a really good story, and then, as you said, it set up for everything else that happened throughout the night. We say, how do you know it? What's up, buddy? Good to see you. The women are wrestlers too. I'm sure they know how to take a bumper too. Yeah, no, they definitely do, and that's why they were so good tonight in this match. And the no hands on women's thing is so outdated. It's like totally 80s. I feel like we got it more in maybe not more in the 80s, but we
got it more in the 90s.
Yeah,
where was it?
the 90s through the early 2000s, because the 90s ran through like 2003.
I was going to say 2003 was the end of the 90s, and for that era too of wrestling.
I always say 2004 is the end of the 90s because that's when the college dropout dropped, and I feel like it completely changed rap, and that's my cutoff line.
Whatever works for you, pal.
Because everyone stopped. That and the Black album came out that year too, and everyone stopped wearing jerseys and started dressing, give me a crisp pair of jeans and a button up. Except me, of course, obviously. But no, I think, James, you're a fan, I think, a little bit more. I know Matt Castagnoli's a big fan of it, of intergender wrestling on the indies.
You nailed it, though.
I'm not a huge fan of it, like that stuff, but this I like. This, I think, is a good medium of the two for those of you who don't like them like actually striking each other.
I think there are matches where it works, and I think there are situations and stories where it works. Like, I've seen Masha Slamovich take on Speedball Mike Bailey. There is no reality where I don't think Masha Slamovich wouldn't be a great opponent and could kick Mike Bailey's ass. So I don't mind them going back and forth.
Jordan Grace, I think, beat Bully Ray in TNA too, right?
Jordan Grace beating Bully Ray. Fantastic. Say what you will about Tessa Blanchard. We're not here to discuss the person. I love that there is a company that is willing, granted, I don't think we're ever getting it again, but there was a company that was willing to put their world championship, not their women's world championship, their world championship on a woman, and she had to beat a man to do it. I love that. So I think there are circumstances where it works. I don't want to see Brody King taking on Julia Hart. If the Hounds of Hell break up, I don't want to see that match. But there are instances like this where I didn't mind seeing Swerve kicking Marina in the head, because Marina has just been a problem for the AEW roster.
She's been kicking the ass out of men for the entire time she's been
more men than women. More men than women. So
she even got in some tonight later in the show.
So it's all circumstantial to me. It's very much a case by case kind of situation.
Yeah, 100%. I was even going to bring up Nia Jax in the men's rumble.
Yes.
I think that was a few years ago. Like, that was, he said that was like one of my best things in my career. Like, I took an RKO and a 619. I had a ball.
I have to be very careful because I don't want it to sound bad. Like, but it's great when you see these antagonistic women get their comeuppance. Now, I don't want that to sound like I'm saying these women are getting what they deserve, but like, it's
in storyline, in kayfabe.
Yes. Like, I'd argue, and I still say, like, she lucked out with how over she became, that they were never going to do it. Rhea should have gotten her comeuppance from somebody on the men's side of things back when, like, Judgment, when she was a heel Judgment Day. But that's just not how it goes. So I think, again, like I said, there are instances. Tonight was perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know if we need to see more of it in AEW, but sprinkle a little bit more, and I think I'd be happy. Like, I'd like to see Julia team with Brody against somebody at some point.
I'd agree. And look, the moral of this was it showed the character of Swerve and it showed the character of Mox. Swerve did it by accident and wasn't thrilled that he did it.
Yeah.
Mox did it purposely and went like, after he did it, he was mocking the situation. So we saw the bad guy did a bad thing. They're supposed to.
Yeah. And it also showed the character of Willow and Marina too. And we mentioned Marina being the one willing to sacrifice herself at multiple times in this match for Moxley, and then actually doing it, and Willow being willing to step up to the Death Riders, not only with Copeland, but now with Swerve. Yeah. So, and being willing, unfortunately, to eat that from Mox, knowing that there was a possibility, just having the courage to step up and do that. So, it was a great storytelling device here, and it only works. It honestly only works, but it works best when you're able to do that on a night like tonight. So it was all very good from all of them. We're gonna fast forward a bit to the next segment in this saga, where we went back with Renee as she was trying to get a medical update on Willow from Swerve. And Renee obviously asked how Willow was doing. And Swerve says that she is tough, which is why he was okay, not even okay, but like happy to go to battle with her against the Death Riders, knowing how tough she is and how resilient she is and how she is willing to stand up to them. Swerve then calls Moxley out for what he did, knowing Willow's history with neck issues, and says that he is now on the hunt and he will not stop until he gets his hands on Moxley, not in Philly, not on Collision, but tonight. That leads us to the end of the show.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
At a certain point, if this was a court of law, we'd be holding Renee accountable, right? She is an accomplice.
To whom?
To
Mox?
Yes. She's absolutely aiding and abetting.
Just because they share a car home?
They share more than a car home, sir. They're a daughter. No, they are linked. So on some level, sins of the husband here. If I was a talent that was feuding with Mox, and Renee even dared to put a fucking microphone in my face, the least I would do is simply tell her, back away from me. I don't trust you.
Hey, Christian did it a few weeks ago.
And you know
not the best example, but you defended him that night.
I did. I have been consistent on this. I love Renee. You know I love Renee. But when it comes to just the absurdity of the fact that this man is running around literally trying to murder people with bleach down their throats, I think we could say, hey, Renee, you know, you're married to an asshole, and that makes me think that there's something wrong with you.
Maybe she just wants to stay out of his business. I don't know.
Okay, Carmela Soprano, fine. All right, bring him in.
Yeah, all right. We now welcome on, first time, long time, Danny to the show. What's going on, Skibbo?
Hasn't been that long. But James is out here defend. I came in and just immediately started laughing at what James was going on about. So I feel like I missed some context, but I could piece it together.
I'm just saying that there is a legal argument that Renee is an accessory to all of Mox's crimes.
I guess, you know, but like Rev said, they just share a car home, you know.
They share more than a car.
They carpool, you know, it's good for the environment.
Okay.
But at that
roommates,
point,
you know, what is she gonna do? Move out? Like
also at that point too, is Tony Khan then accountable for what's going on? Is any wrestling company accountable?
Yes.
For what happened?
Like, the answer is yes.
Look, maybe she sees him more of a Luigi type of murderer than, you know, like a bad type of murderer, you know?
You keep my assassin, his name out your goddamn mouth. Ugh.
Also, you know, it brings up a decent point with a couple of typos, but I'll fit. Willow's also going to seek revenge on Marina, so that'll come down the pipeline. Hopefully, I think it could maybe happen at Dynasty. I don't know if they're going to have a match, but I imagine there'll be shenanigans in that main event, and Willow will get her revenge on Marina.
Oh yeah, there's definitely, I think, going to be a lot of
on Mox.
Shit going on. Yeah,
more so Mox.
Yeah, more so Moxley. Yeah, good point. All right, let's head to the end of the show now to clean up this whole loop, where we started with a backstage interview with Swerve Strickland, again with Renee attempting to get some word on Willow's medical condition. However, as she is going up to Swerve, he is seen arguing with Prince Nana, and then by the time Renee gets there, Nana has frustratingly walked away. Renee then attempts to ask Swerve for an update on Willow, but he tells her with all due respect he is looking for her husband right now and blows her off.
And then Renee said, I don't know, we just share a car home. I'm not sure his whereabouts.
Probably. This then leads to Swerve walking through some curtains, and as he gets through them, he is then confronted by one Hangman Adam Page, who starts yelling at him and calls him a dumbass and tells him to stop. And then Page is quickly flanked by a bunch of security who keep the two men, or at least try to get in between the two men to keep them apart. Hangman starts yelling at Swerve that Swerve is wasting his time for going after the title, as he said Swerve would never be champion again, and Hangman is indeed a man of his word. Swerve yells back that Hangman needs to let it go, and Hangman shouts that Swerve broke in his house. Swerve shouts back that Hangman burned his house down. Hanger yells that Swerve deserved it, and Swerve just goes, I know. And then Hangman kind of stops in a bit of shock, and he calms down, and he breaks away from the security bit, and he goes, what do you say to me? And Swerve just goes, I said, I know. And then Hangman's still in a state of shock, and he just kind of in bewilderment, and he walks away to the back. So before we move on to the next part of all of this, James, this is something you said was probably the bigger deal of the night, and it's shocking. I think that, you know, seeing Swerve take accountability for his actions is something that Hangman wasn't expecting, because he just was like, this is blood feud forever. And now we might see something where not only Swerve might start to take accountability for his actions, but we will continue to see the transformation of Hangman as he starts to take responsibility for his.
This is so multifaceted, because 2 lines of dialogue did so much work for these 2 men and setting up so much for them in the future. Oh, we all love Swerve. We all love Swerve. We think he's amazing, and we cheer him as a face. We cheer him as a heel. But we have acknowledged here on the pod that Swerve never officially just turned face. It just sort of happened. We willed it into happening because of how cool he is. And it happened in the middle of a blood feud with Hangman, where Swerve was in the wrong. In the process, we turned Hangman heel, and Hangman ran with that ball, but he absolutely, like, to see Swerve take accountability, and despite the worst thing that had happened to him, which was losing his childhood home because Hangman got his revenge, and say, you know what, yeah, that's on me, I deserved it. The level of accountability there for Swerve, just, there's no doubting, there's no gray area. He is the good guy. And with Hangman, on Hangman's side, hi Maria. On Hangman's side of things, you see how conflicted he's been, and how conflicted he's been for months and months and months. He was conflicted after the last Swerve match where he won it. You can see how upset and disappointed in himself he was for what he's become. And he's still coming to terms with all of the terrible things he's done since then. I think him hearing from Swerve that Swerve deserved it is a huge weight off of Hangman's shoulders. That, yeah, he did something terrible, but he was pushed to a point of doing it. And that doesn't excuse who he's become. But now he can sort of move on from this, you did it, I blah blah. Who's in the wrong with Swerve? And I hate to say it, but producer boy's right.
I think it was, you know, it as well. He's been saying that they were going to team up for a while, and even Maria saying now a big team up's coming between these two. So shouts to the comment section being all over this plot line. We were like, we don't know if or how it's going to come, but it could. And now we are seeing the true seeds of it, like, really starting to sprout. Even going all the way back to right before the Hangman MJF stuff, when Hanger was looking for Swerve.
Yeah.
And then he just was like, forget it, he's not here, I don't want to do it anymore. And then he bumped into MJF, and that led to all that stuff. So they've been slow playing this for a while. And now it's really starting to come to fruition because of, as you said, James, Hangman has been given the opportunity to really come to terms with not only what he did, but why he did it.
Exactly. I want to pass it over to Danny, but I just wanted to say, I love that everything with Hangman, all of his storylines, ever since he joined AEW, have always been perfectly curated. And sometimes they feel like they're going on forever, and I get it. But man, when they come in, like when it all comes together and you see these payoffs from things that happened weeks ago or months ago or however long ago, it's so rewarding as a fan who's watching week in and week out. But Danny, what do you think about it? Are you on board for the potential tag team?
What are you, the host that you're throwing it to me?
I mean, we're all equals here.
He can throw to you. It's fine. I don't take any offense to it.
All right, well, I was just standing up for you, Rob, but all right.
I appreciate that, though.
I mean, a shocker. I'm about to say that I loved it because I don't understand how anyone who genuinely watches the show wouldn't love it. But let me start real quick. Praising Hangman, like James just did. He is he's up there. Like, I don't want to say definitively, but he's up there with the best actors in wrestling. Like, he does body language so well, and a lot of wrestlers do because it's a physical art form.
Yeah.
But he does it so well in the non-physical moments, which is a lot harder to do because when you watch his body language change when Swerve said he deserved it, you literally watch him soften. How many times have we seen Hangman's eyes soften? Imagine a wrestler doing that. And that's what Hangman's doing. He's just visual cues. There's like, he literally is lighter than when that segment started. He walked away lighter and he walked in because he got something he's been looking for that he didn't know exactly what he was trying to get out of Swerve, but he just got some of it. And it's so good. It is so good. And like you guys said, it's great for Swerve too to finally have that moment of that admission, finally truly becoming a good guy. But to just, oh man, to see that for Hangman was such a great moment. That Hangman is, I'm gonna compare him to like not as like great shows or shows that fell off, but he's our Rick Grimes. Like, he is our main character that we see this show through, and even if he takes a backseat sometimes, he's still the main character that has an actual arc and a story that goes from season 1, episode 1 to present day to however long this goes on. You know, like, he is unbelievably consistent and character driven to the point where how often do we even talk about Hangman as a wrestler anymore? You know, like, we don't even do, and he's a great wrestler, but we just don't talk about that anymore because we just talk about how good of a storyteller he is and how good his stories have been, his character is, because that's how far this guy has come since being the guy that everyone was like, that's the guy you're going to make your first champ? And then everyone was like, yeah, it's probably for the best you made Jericho the first champ. To now being like, no, he's the guy. He's literally the main character. Like, what a journey this guy has been on.
I remember being so viscerally angry that the first main event for the world title was Hangman versus Jericho. I'm like, how is Kenny not in this? How is Kenny not going for this world title?
Like, why wouldn't you do the rematch that, you know, got so many people to watch New Japan or to like just go outside the WWE? But continue.
No, I agree with you. And I want to give Tony Khan a good amount of credit because it's been well documented. He had his first 4 world champions planned. He knew how he wanted that to go. He had a roadmap for what he wanted. But at the same time, and again, no, I'm not trying to throw any shade at Tony. In fact, I'm trying to compliment him in its own different way. There's no way he could have taken into account just how much fans would get invested into Hangman. You can't, like, you could hope for it. You could expect something, but there's been a lot of talk over the years with AEW. Who's the heart? Who's the soul of AEW? Is it Moxley? Is it Bryan? Is it Swerve? Is it MJF? But like, it's Hangman. Hangman is the heart and soul of this company.
Well, I remember back in the beginning, it was Mox was the heart and Hangman was the soul, but I think Mox has kind of lost his. So
there are people who I think are better in the ring than Hangman. I think there are people who are just as good with storytelling as Hangman. But I think the reality is there's something special about who Hangman is that makes us feel invested in him.
I would hate to use his promo quote in a, just the critique of it, but he is real. Like you said, to MJF.
Exactly
like that.
Yeah. I don't know if that was the end of Danny's point or he dropped out, but yeah, I mean, he's real and we can see the authenticity. I even, weirdly enough, think a decent part of that, the pandemic kind of ended up helping. I think so many people had nothing to do, and the character building on BTE was such an added bonus.
You need to remember too, during the pandemic, Hangman was gone for a lot of it.
Yeah,
because he doesn't live in California or Florida. He lives where?
I think he still lives in Virginia.
Yeah, is it Virginia or is it?
He's from Virginia, so yeah. I think he still lives there.
So he was gone for long stretches of time during the pandemic. Like Kenny, they were tag team champions together, Kenny and Hangman, but it was Kenny who was there every week and Hangman wasn't.
Yeah, Kenny was literally just staying in Florida at that point.
And it speaks volumes as far as I'm. Oh, there he is. We lost you there for a sec, buddy. It speaks volumes to how much they were able to get done, even when he was only around sparingly.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, to borrow, I guess kind of borrow something from Hangman because he is such a phenomenal gardener. He does a very good job at planting seeds, and then you eventually watch them grow into these flowers, and you end up with these beautiful storylines at the end of it. So this one's still starting to bloom, but we're getting there, and it's pretty damn cool.
I agree.
I agree, and to just tie it back to what I was saying about him being more akin to a character on a TV show, that is the kind of thing you see in a show where they plant a seed early on and then you don't get a payoff right away. Maybe you get a payoff in the finale. Maybe you got to wait multiple seasons. And that's the kind of thing Hangman is. Like, he could plant a seed and it's not going to pay off in the feud he's currently in. That feud could be 6 months and it won't pay off until like a feud or two later where, it finally comes back around. Like, he didn't start drinking and then immediately stopped drinking, like, once they lost the tag titles. It's a long con, and the stories changed around him, but his character still grows separately of that. And I don't know. I have nothing but good things to say about Hangman now, which is funny because, when he was champion, I was like, oh God. But, and I will always stand by my take on that. I think he should have lost it sooner, but it's interesting with the roadmap thing that you mentioned with Tony Khan, because I'm like, I forgot about that. I truly, truly forgot about that. And you notice, like, the first 4 reigns all make sense. Maybe, like, I didn't see the Moxley one coming when it came, like, but, like, him being champion, okay, that makes sense. But I didn't see it happening so soon, I guess, but it all makes sense. And then what happened after that? That's where things get a little messy. Like, you gotta imagine in a perfect timeline where nothing goes wrong and everybody gets along, and nobody's a baby about anything, that, okay, you gotta make Punk champ, sure. Without a doubt, Punk was gonna drop the title to MJF. I think that event was always the trajectory. And then who knows after that, because it truly, there was no plan for Samoa Joe to be champion by the time MJF won the title. So truly knows after that. But like, you got to imagine the first few, before everything started going wrong, the first 6 reigns truly could have been mapped out. Of course, they couldn't have known Punk was going to be there when they started, even though I think that was a goal from the get-go. There's no guarantee that happens. So it's very interesting to note that things got a little iffy for a while and then kind of got back on track with Joe and Swerve. So it's an interesting lineage.
Oh no, it absolutely is. I don't know if this is a hot take, and I know we're going on Rev's favorite thing. We're going on a little bit of a tangent. Get it ready. There you go. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't think there's ever been a bad world champion. I think there have been poor reigns, but everyone who has been champion should have been champion.
I agree with you.
I'd say the real messiness comes from Punk winning it, getting hurt, Mox becoming interim champion. That whole mess where they traded the title back and forth was
Punk's
terrible.
not seeing Rocky 3.
And Mox winning the title instead of Bryan was, I think, for me, that was the beginning of the end for my true interest in Mox. It wasn't like a steep, like fall off a cliff type thing, but that's where I started to feel like I was getting too exposed to him. And Bryan should have. Mox loses the title to MJF in what was a month. It should have been Bryan.
Yeah, I agree.
And if
because that's what Bryan would have wanted, is to not hold the title for a long time.
Exactly. And I know we've talked about it, and I know we agree. But how many people were upset that Bryan took the title off of Swerve? I think they're crazy people, but I understand them being upset that Swerve lost the title, and it kind of just derailed him for a little bit. Very little bit, because of how good he is and how he's able to make everything feel important. But there's an argument that Swerve being champion and then getting dethroned by this Death Rider Mox could have been good.
So yeah, it could have been good, but I understand like the amount of heat Moxley got from taking Bryan out and essentially retiring him.
I agree.
Is
I don't.
big.
I agree, but I don't think that heat still exists.
No, absolutely not.
It has been completely wasted at this point.
Yeah, no, and that's a result of the poor booking of the Death Riders from that up until, I would say, the Copeland feud recently, even though, again, all of those payoffs ended up kind of sucking. Like, even the last couple of weeks with Swerve here in a very quick build have been very good. And to that point, to continue to move on here, just to get to the very end of that segment where we were on, after Hangman left Swerve, Swerve continued to went to look for Moxley, but Moxley and Pac quickly found him first and got the jump on him and started beating the crap out of him, while Marina, who we were talking about before, James, took out her frustration on some more poor security guys and kicked the shit out of them.
They would be doing that, doesn't she?
Yep. Moxley and Pac then threw Swerve through a glass case, and then they were joined by Wheeler Yuta and Claudio, and everyone grabs Swerve and drags him over the glass, eventually working their way out into the crowd and then tossing over the barricade and eventually into the ring. It is there that Moxley empties a bag of broken glass onto the apron, and Claudio, I don't know if it was a power bomb or a Ricola bomb, I don't remember, but yeah, he power bombed Swerve into said glass. As the Death Riders then leave to go through the crowd, Swerve sat up from the glass and stared them down, eventually working his way to his feet, like giving a maniacal laugh while staring down Moxley, who just has a look of shock and a little bit of horror in his face. So, Danny, this is just another one of those things they do with Swerve where, you know, it makes the Death Riders look sick once again, just because breaking out broken glass like that at random is a fucked up thing to do. But you see Swerve, just because he is the most violent man in AEW and the level of anger he has towards Moxley right now, just fight through it and get up like a zombie who is just laser focused on Moxley and the world title.
I like how you put it, like a zombie. I feel like that's apt. He's.
I mean, he did do the man sit up, so
yeah. Which, you know, what's funny? I was just thinking like 2 days ago. I was like, someone needs to start doing that now that both Ken and Undertaker are like not wrestling anymore. Like, just start sitting up. Like,
yeah,
should be Malachi / Alistair. But
I was also debating of like, this is a tangent. I'm very sorry, but I'm like, I think the main reason I don't have a problem with no selling and wrestling is because I was a Kane fan as a kid, and I remember him just no selling punches and chair shots all the time. But anyway,
It worked for Sting.
yeah, I wasn't.
One of my favorite, I love wrestling, was Seth taking out Corporate Kane, taking out his knee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Getting Corporate Kane getting loaded into the ambulance, coming out as Demon Kane, and then just literally he's limping and just stomping his leg on the floor, and it just
back into place.
Yeah. I was an adult.
Yeah,
I was
2015.
Yeah, it was great.
I was an adult.
I was graduating college and marking out. Yeah,
I absolutely marking out for it.
Yeah, so I love it. I'm a fan of it, but. Okay, this is my minor nitpick on this. Really on the interaction with Swerve and Hangman, but it ties into this. I didn't like the security involvement. I was like, why are you? What? I was like, why aren't you guarding Moxley? He's like, what are you doing here? Why were you tailing Hangman? Like, to me, I didn't like it, but I also feel like Hangman and Swerve are at a point where it's not on site with these guys. Hangman doesn't just want to fight him every time he sees him. He wants to hurt him emotionally. So he's not going to do that by just fighting with him randomly backstage every week. So he's picking and choosing his spots because he wants to hurt them mentally and emotionally, not just physically. So I'm like, security is not really needed here. And I feel like they're just there for Marina to kick around after. I was like, that was a clunky setup. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, that's the only minor nitpick is I wish security wasn't there. But anyway, beatdown was good.
Can I William Regal it? Like, explain it? We knew where Swerve was because he made his intentions clear he was looking for Mox. We didn't know where Mox was. So security would be tailing Swerve to stop a brawl from happening.
I also think they just have been assigned to tail Hangman for the rest of his tenure. I feel like at this point Hanger kind of deserves it a little.
Once you burn a house down, you probably get a tail for a while.
You burn one house down, you threaten one baby, you kill one CEO, and all of a sudden,
Jesus Christ,
what is going on here? You said
but you're also,
assassin.
I don't think that's fair though, because the baby thing is bad. The house thing is bad. The other thing...
Yeah, okay, that's not a good comparison on my part. My bad.
But... Which one of these is not like the other?
Which of these is going to get us sued?
Okay, sorry. The Death Rider stuff, I'm going to be honest, I don't think the Death Rider stuff has been that bad on paper lately. Like, some of it's like, it's because there's already the bad taste, where it's like, this isn't good enough to make up for that. It doesn't undo the bad taste. But like, if this was a good angle and you were doing this, I'd be yeah, this is good. This is a fine thing. Like, this was a good beatdown. What was wrong with this? Nothing. It was a good go home beatdown. Absolutely. It gives you just enough to think maybe Swerve's going to win on Sunday. And I don't know if he will. I really, really, really want him to. But I don't think he will. I don't know if he will. I just don't see an end in sight for this, so I'm hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. But the angle itself was good. I didn't get to talk about it, but I enjoyed the intergender, the mixed tag. I think I like those. I liked when we had Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander versus like Cole and Baker. Like I like them. And I mean, of course, the first example I was going to think of had to have been best friends related because, of course, but
naturally.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them. Willow took some fucking nasty ass table bump that did clearly not go according to plan, but Willow's taken worse, so I'm not really worried about her. But I like it. And again, this is like the me that watched in the Attitude Era where this kind of shit happened all the time, or Lucha Underground where they damn near perfected intergender wrestling.
If Mae Young can go through a table, so can Willow.
Yeah, bro, you watch, literally, if you try to watch like Chris Statlander matches before AEW, 60% of them are against guys. Like, sometimes it's just these women have done it. You think Willow hasn't wrestled fucking Brian Myers like 100 fucking times? Like, bro, all these Long Islanders, they all wrestle each other.
They all train together too, so like it's
Yeah.
not like anybody's unused to taking bumps from each other.
Yeah. So I thought this was a good show, long narrative to build hype for a main event. Maybe the first time in a while being excited for the Death Riders main event, and it's 100% because it's Swerve, but still, like compare this to Revolution where it's like everything else is great, don't care about the main event. Compare it to World's End where it's like I don't give a fuck about this Fatal 4-Way, even though I care about the people in it to a degree, Hangman mainly, and Orange Cassidy, but like, Full Gear, we were there. It's different. Doesn't count. Doesn't matter. But like this was good to fine. Like at worst, you can say it's fine. At best, you can say it was good.
Yep.
And I think that's the best we can hope for with the Death Riders right now.
Yeah, I think James, and recently, like I mentioned this a bit before with the Copeland stuff, we've had good segments from the Death Riders, but again, especially with that the ending of Revolution there, the payoffs have fallen so flat recently. So I'm hoping at least heading into Dynasty that we get a much better payoff in this main event match with Moxley and Swerve, just because if Moxley is to win, he really needs a good payoff here to get some momentum heading towards All In, because otherwise it's going to look ugly. So hopefully we can finally have a good payoff and actually build upon that goodwill that the Death Riders have been kind of getting back a little bit during their better Dynamite segments of late, and Collision too. That was directed towards you, James.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was reading something about tonight's show. Can you just repeat the last bit?
Yeah, no, I was just saying how that I'm hoping that they're able to pay off the good Dynamite and Collision segments that the Death Riders have been having recently with this main event match on Sunday, as opposed to the poor payoffs we had from the good Dynamite and Collision matches in the build towards Moxley Copeland.
I agree. I mean, obviously that's the hope, that's the goal, but I feel, and it's unfortunate that no matter how good it is, I think there's going to be a contingent of us who can't appreciate it unless Swerve wins, because we say it week in, week out, month in, month out. We're just waiting for Darby to come back. And the hope with all of these challengers is that they surprise us. Like we love Swerve. Swerve should be AEW World Champion right now. He absolutely should be. I'm not confident that he's going to win because the expectation is it's going to be Darby. It's not, oh man, can Swerve overcome Mox, and what's going to happen next if he doesn't win? Well, if he doesn't win, we know it's because they're just warming everything up for Darby. So it builds a level of resentment.
Do you still believe he's going to show up like for All In? Because I don't know anymore.
No, I'm way past that. See, I agree with James because that's where a lot of the trepidation and the dread is coming in.
Yeah.
But I think we are at a point where it cannot be Darby. The time has passed. Love Darby, one of my favorite entrance music in the whole company. But it's too late. The ship has sailed. All that resentment, it's going to fall on Darby.
I agree. I completely agree.
I wanted Darby to be world champion, and I saw the vision. We all saw the vision when the started. We're like, okay, like we're upset because of how we got here with Brian being shortchanged, blah, blah, blah. But we understood the vision, but now we're so far removed from that it makes no sense to stick with it because it won't be satisfying anymore. It's lost that luster. Are we really going to wait for Darby to climb Everest while we have Swerve, Hangman, Ospreay, Omega in the works? Like, why would we do? I'd rather another Swerve reign, another Hangman reign, another MJF reign, another Kenny reign.
We could have had Orange.
Yeah, I'd rather it have been Orange. I'm not saying this right now, but there's a world where I'd rather it have been Daniel Garcia. And I'm not saying that currently because
wow.
But no, I'm just saying if they heated up Garcia at the right time, like there's no reason it couldn't have been
a guy like him. Saying, but wow, yeah.
But it's too late for Darby. It's not even climbing season for Everest yet. That's not for like another 2 months. Like that's still time, but also him not being in the tournament announced for it, I don't think it's going to be him. Especially because there's no way he's going to be the wild card beating Hangman in the first round. No fucking way.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there in a few, but
I do want to say I'm not opposed to down the line. Like, this isn't me saying I don't want Darby Allin as world champion at some point. I'd be happy if he wins it down the line, but I don't need him to be the guy to beat Moxley for the title now. And I feel that I love Darby. I knew Darby before AEW. I really want Darby to succeed, but this was just not the timing. And quite frankly, this makes me resent Jay White. If we're going down this rabbit hole, if Jay White didn't break his fucking foot last year, Darby would have climbed the mountain last year and we'd be fine.
You know what? I also want to blame the bus driver who hit Darby.
Those things did happen like within the span of a week.
But you know what? The bus driver happened. I blame Jay White because if Darby's foot wasn't broken, he would have dodged the fucking bus. So once again, Jay White screwing everybody over.
Well,
man, I love this fucking red string. You know what? While we're at it, Hangman's or Swerve's house would have never burned down if Keith Lee wasn't sick all the time. You know?
Oh god! All right, I'm gonna get out of this really quick. Pull the eject button. I
miss Keith Lee so much. I wish he would be okay. I hope he's okay.
It's Shelton's fault.
It's Top Dollar's fault, apparently. That's Oh man, and you're on Team Booker T, I assume.
No, not at all. Not at all. I have been all right. Just we'll clip it. I have been anti-Booker T for years.
Yeah.
For years. And it's great to see that people are finally catching on to just how big a shill he is.
I stopped liking him like once he stopped wrestling. Because he hasn't been good since he was a wrestler.
I know people are going to disagree with this take. I think Booker is a terrible announcer or a commentator.
Oh,
he's not very good.
The only people who are saying that are literally 14-year-olds. There's no one who lived through the Shucky Ducky Quack Quack era genuinely. You know who might like it? Chad, because Chad likes everything from like the bad times.
Honestly, like the only thing that people talk about, like in the live threads on NXT and stuff, are like whenever Stephanie Vacar does like the thing with her knees on the person's head into the mat, and Booker just starts going off. That's the only reason people like him is he's just all he is memeable.
Yes,
and that's why people think he's funny, but he's not. Like Corey has been a godsend on that show. Even though
he doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah, he might not even want to be there, but he's.
I mean, when you have to work with Booker, I get it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. All right. Let's move on. And funny enough, James, we actually have to talk about Jay White because he's hurt. So he is apparently actually hurt. We'll get to that in a second. But Excalibur opened the show by announcing that the Death Riders had attacked the Switchblade, and then he wouldn't be able to compete in the Owen despite being announced for it. PWI reported that White sustained an injury ahead of Dynamite, and he's expected to undergo surgery, but they don't know what the specific surgery is just yet, or the specific injury. Excuse me. So that sucks.
Yep.
Apparently got his comeuppance over breaking Darby's foot there, James. But
that's a bitch.
I'm
not happy he's hurt. And to something Danny said earlier privately in our group chat about the women's Owen feeling more stacked than the men's Owen. I think Jay, who I never expected to win, being taken out of it, hurt the tournament so much. I love Kevin Knight. I've been watching Kevin Knight for a little while now. I watched him in TNA. I watched him in New Japan, and he's a good talent, and I'm so happy he's all elite.
Yeah, he's having a couple of good showcases to start his AEW career.
Absolutely. He's a great grab for the company. He's a great future star. He is somebody that they could very much mold and develop and turn something into down the line. He shouldn't be in this tournament. Not with the caliber of people that were in it before. You have Takeshita. You have Will Ospreay. You have Hangman Adam Page. You have Wild Card, who typically does well in these tournaments.
Honestly, they're starting to creep up on Vacant.
Yeah, right. Wild Card versus Vacant could be the feud of the future.
That sounds like a DDT match.
God, we should pitch it. Brody King. So many good names in this tournament. And Knight, not a slouch, but he just hasn't been there enough. So Jay being gone hurts this tournament a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah. I see what you mean. And I think that's a valid point. I don't think it hurts it as much as you might be implying, but I do agree to an extent. But I was gonna say that no matter what, because I think in both cases, first rounds, utterly predictable on both ends. Of course, we know who's going through in each match. Yeah.
It's scary.
Those second rounds.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. In the women's side, especially. Hayter versus Statlander, match of the year. Fuck it. Pack it up. Rest of the year. it's not going to get better than that. Like, that's a match we keep talking about as fans. Like, yeah, like, of course we want to see that, but they never, ever cross paths or atmospheres, really, besides technically a handicap match with Reba. But, that's going to be fucking awesome. And then on the other side, you got Athena versus Monet.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Actually, I think a lot of people saw this coming, that it was going to be in the tournament where they do it the first time. So that way, no one has to lose the title yet. But I'm excited for that. And then my prediction is, sorry, you can jump right in, but I think it's going to end with, I'm just pushing for Statlander because I'm a mark, but I wanted to end with her beating Monet in the finals. I think that'd be really cool. She could get her first loss and not lose the title yet, so you get double the worth out of those two. You could separate the two moments, her first loss and her title loss, and get double the fucking stretch out of it. Absolutely go for it. But what were you about to say, James?
I got to look at the bracket right now.
I will pull it up. Hang on. I was just going to say, why don't we pull the brackets up here? Start with the men's side of things. We see it's a
producer boy in here pulling up the screens.
Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight in the top left. Brody King versus Konosuke Takeshita bottom left. And on the top right, we have Mark Briscoe against Kyle Fletcher. And then your bottom right is Hangman Adam Page versus the aforementioned Wild Card. It was announced later that Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight would be on Dynasty. So it would be my guess that the pay-per-view match was going to be Ospreay versus Switchblade. And then obviously Switchblade got hurt, I would think, probably yesterday or today. And now he's, they just switched it.
I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think they would have blown Will versus Jay for the first round.
Yeah, I actually think Jay would have been in the Brody King Takeshita spot somewhere.
I agree.
Even for a pay-per-view match.
I think, because really, it's just to get Will on the card.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole reason it's happening at Dynasty. It's so they can have him on pay-per-view.
Yeah, you got to have the guy with the dragon tattoo on the card,
I think it would have been Will versus Brody. And I think it would have been Jay versus Takeshita.
That's interesting. I don't like that, though, because I don't want Takeshita to lose in the first round.
I don't know how you book Takeshita at all moving forward. We kind of talked. We kind of
anomaly.
He can't win the international title again. He can't go for the Continental title, even though we all want him versus Okada. But I don't think it should be for a title. And it doesn't make sense for him to go for the TNT title. And he is just as great as he is. He doesn't make sense in the world title picture.
He might end up in Japan for a little while. He's got contracts with both New Japan and is it DDT? So
yeah, DDT, New Japan, and AEW. He's got a
I think
contract.
he also might have a CMLL contract now too, or he at least is going to be loaned out to them at some point. So he might have a little bit of time away from AEW in the near future while things open up for him.
But they put the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling title on him.
Scott would do it. That's great for Takeshita because it exemplifies how great a talent he is and how in demand he is. It's not, as an AEW viewer, though, it's not great.
Yeah.
Not
oh, no, yeah.
But I don't know how to book him at all. Like Danny just said, he is an anomaly. He is too good to not be doing something, but he's not important enough to be doing anything bigger. It's so weird.
Yeah, I gotta say though, that match versus Brody King is gonna slap.
Oh no, it will. But I'm also not thrilled that most likely, and I think Danny was gonna say something, so I'll be quick. I'm not thrilled that it's so. I'd say Will, Takeshita, Fletcher, Hangman, and
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled that Will is going to face Takeshita again so soon. I don't know who benefits from this.
Yeah, Maria is saying put Takeshita in a blood feud to keep him busy. The problem is finding against whom to put him. So,
and realistically, any feud for Takeshita is really a feud for Callis.
Yep.
I could see. I think right now the main event or the finals for this is Ospreay versus Hangman, but there's a very real argument that it could be Takeshita versus Hangman.
It's possible. If it's the latter, I got Hangman winning. If it's the former, I still think Ospreay should be the one to take the title off Mox in Wembley. If it's not going to be Darby, so.
But it's not going to be Wembley. It's Texas.
Oh, Texas. Sorry, Texas.
And that's why the Cowboy makes more sense.
It's still. I still just think it's going to be all in. Why? You think Ospreay's going to do it at Forbidden Door? He's going to be whoever for the title of Forbidden Door because that's going to be
Wembley. I think you just wait one more year.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe.
And one thing I like about Ospreay is he seems to want to like slowly build to that world title when he didn't want to jump right into it. Because I'm sure he could have, when he had all the leverage, he could have positioned himself to be that guy. But he understood. I respect Ospreay.
Oh, I have so much respect for Will Ospreay. The person and how he's bracket for the women.
I know. I'm going to go back to it. I just wanted to.
Well, but I just want to comment on with the men's thing. I don't love this lineup a lot. Like, I love Mark Briscoe, but like, we can't keep putting them in these types of like tournaments and matches, you know? Same thing with Brody. Brody keeps eating losses lately. Like,
it sucks.
This isn't the best built bracket, and I don't think Jay White was the end all be all of solutions, but absolutely that's a difference maker right there because he's a guy that we know is not going to win, but we think will advance a round at least. So even if you lost in the first round, it'd be like, oh shit, like a big name lost in the first round, you know? Like, so like Jay White was important to this, I agree. But like that's why I'm like, okay, like at least with the women, I feel like we're building to these two great potential like dream matches where it's like on the men's side, it's like cool, like Fletcher Hangman, cool. Yeah, I didn't think of that as like a match, but sure, like that's gonna be great, of course. But like, yeah, Will to catch that again, I'm like, that doesn't do much for me. And even if it was Birdie, he just fought Birdie in the C2 as well. So it's like, it's not the most exciting.
I'm looking to see on this roster who would make sense and who would be exciting.
Like Ricochet, you know, like
for the wild card.
No, just in general. Like the wild card is probably going to be somebody who's either returning or like it's not just going to be somebody on the roster.
See, me and Maria are on the same page. I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you guys too, and we'll get to the women's in a second. Because I guess bring up the wild card. Who is your guys' predictions for it? Because for me, James, I think it's going to be Josh Alexander.
All right, that got my nips hard just a little bit.
Did you say your nips or your bits?
My nips. I mean, granted,
nips
and, yeah, right. Nips and bits tonight. That's gonna be a T-shirt. Fuck, you just killed me because now I need it to be him.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't think he's ready, but like a name that you could always throw out is Eddie Kingston, but I don't think he's ready yet.
Yeah, I would hate to see Eddie come back and lose though, because presume whoever is going up against Hangman likely loses, but I'm here for Josh Alexander.
What the fuck else could it be?
I don't know. What's Ricky Starks doing?
I heard he
believe-
retired. I heard he
No.
retired. This new
I don't
kid.
know. Bring back Miro or someone. Like, I don't fucking.
Malachi.
Malachi Black. He's still under contract. At least
I
he
would
didn't
love-
take short years.
Oh, take Phoenix out of Guantanamo Bay and put him in the. There's so many names. It's so easy.
That was dark.
I also
Is it dark? That's a running joke.
I also think, just a dynasty prediction, I think Cedric Alexander is going to debut too. But
I cannot confidently say that Cedric Alexander will come to AEW. And
he
Because
does
of
like
Big
this
Swole?
weekend though.
wait, I didn't hear what you guys, both of you said something.
I just said because of Big Swole.
Yeah, because of we as fans could say it's not that big a deal, just move on, forget about it. But he is married to this person, and it was a very ugly back and forth that, as far as we know, she never recovered from. I don't think I've seen her anywhere since that situation.
No, I haven't heard jack about her.
Are they married or do they just like share a car home like Renee and Mox? Like,
By all accounts, they are married.
okay. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really want to see Cedric in AEW like in general, but like I know this is me on my own here, but like I don't want the Hurt Syndicate to just be exactly the same. I'm so much more interested in them having their own Owen Hart and like MJF, you know, like it's so I'd rather have some juxtaposition with them because that's entertaining.
I think you could have both. I think you could have. So my only thing is, once upon a time, I would have probably agreed with you that I didn't need to see him there. But I could also say, in a world where we saw what AEW was able to do with Ricochet, I am interested to see what they could do with Cedric, who I think just naturally. Maria, we just talked about my nips and bits. Like, come on.
Please stop. I can only get so wrecked.
In a world where we could take Ricochet and turn him into one of the best heels on any roster right now, somebody who inherently did such a better job of connecting with the crowd, I would be interested to see what AEW could do with Cedric. So I don't know. I don't know. If it never happens, it never happens. If it does happen, I am cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that's how I feel. He also just did the interview with CVV, which is why I'm like, I think he's popping up somewhere in the very near future. So,
oh, Maria, stop it.
Cedric with the Ace Austin. I mean,
I don't need to see Ace in another tag team, but considering he's not doing much of anything right now, that sounds they would have a lot of chemistry. At the very least, I would love to see that matchup.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. All right, let's head over to the women's side of things here. We have Jamie Hayter up against Billy Starks, Thunder Rosa against Chris Statlander, Julia Hart against Mercedes Moné, which will be taking place at Dynasty, and Harley Cameron versus Athena. So I really like this. This is an absolutely stacked tournament here.
Yeah.
Danny, I'll go to you first since you're so high on it. What immediately stands out to you?
I mean, I feel like I already said that, which is all the second round matchups.
Yeah.
But with this one, this is great because we'll go corner by corner. Jamie versus Billy. Okay, we just saw this. But, like, having young Billy Starks, this is her. You know, AEW does this a lot. Sometimes it's not good. Sometimes it's really good. Where they put someone on TV constantly, even though they're in the losing role, it worked very well with Queen Aminata, where people are like into her now because like, oh, this chick can go, even though she lost all her matches. People are like, dude, she can go. So now they respect her more. AEW is very good at this sometimes. Other times it's to a fault.
Yeah,
I think with Billy Starks, it's going to be one of the better times. So her and Jamie, those are good names. You know, granted, that's a little, you gotta have been watching ROH or at least aware of what's been going on there. But that's a good matchup. Rosa versus Statlander, perfect. Former TBS champion, former world champion. They were just teaming together. They failed to beat Megan Bayne, the super push lady, who may very well be champion very soon. We'll talk about that in another video. But, that's a great matchup on paper. It's fantastic. You don't even need context of the tournament to be like, yeah, that's a good matchup.
Yeah.
Julia Hart, Mercedes, maybe the weakest match here on paper, but it's still a TBS champion versus a former champion.
Yeah.
It's still a character that we've seen improve and get over in Julia Hart. Like, let's not pretend Julia Hart wasn't, like top 5 most over women at one point, which, sounds like a weird qualifier, but like she was. We watched her jump from that, that spot. So that's good. And then, oh my God, Harley Cameron versus Athena. What the fuck?
I know.
Right? Like,
I could not. I could not have thought up that match.
I'm going to adore that match.
Harley is in the Mark Briscoe role, but it's fresh, so it's fine.
Yep.
It's like it's still in the honeymoon phase, so it's amazing. This is perfect. Like,
look, I don't care if the match is going to be good or not. We got the puppet Monet back tonight just because of the tag match that's happening on Collision. So Harley could lose in 2 minutes. This is already a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'd argue, like, you compared her to Mark and her being in the Mark role here. I actually got to disagree to an extent. Because with Mark, we love him in spite of his losing. He's so over that losing doesn't hurt him. With Harley, it's almost the opposite. That the more she loses, the more we love her because we see how hard she's trying.
Yeah, I just mentioned in the Mark spot, like the person that never wins, we know is not going to win.
Yeah,
but, and it's still super over. But I agree. But this bracket, especially compared to the men's, where the men's, I think it has the stories because you have all the Don Callis, Ospreay stuff, and you have Hangman, who's a walking story in himself. But I just think this one's formatted better with stories that have already intertwined or are starting to intertwine now. And I don't think they could have formatted this one any better. And like the best way they could have changed this is if they replaced Julia Hart, which I have no problem with her being in here. So it's not like if that's the worst I can say about the tournament is that one of the people that got really over and won a championship a year ago is, in the tournament. Like that's a pretty weak fault in this pretty perfect bracket that has a lot of stories intertwined that could become really interesting. And I'm just going to go out there on a limb because we talked about how we think Hangman or Ospreay might win the men's one. I say fuck it. Give this one to Statlander, her and Megan Bayne at All In, because I think
there's a chance that Bayne takes the title off Toni.
Yeah, I do too. So I'm saying fuck it. Let Statlander be the first person to beat Bayne. Do it at All In. We gotta bump Willow and Stat up to the main championship.
Yeah.
And what better way to do it? And then Willow can come right behind her. And I think all will be right with the world, right? I don't think anyone in their right mind would be like, yeah, I don't want to see Willow and Statlander winning the world title. Like, of course we want to see that. So fuck it. Do it, because I think the only way we could fuck this up is honestly by having Mercedes win it, because then I think that's the point of overkill. Whereas the naysayers will pretend that she's at the point of overkill, but I think if she wins this, that'll genuinely be the point of overkill. As much as I think that Toni Storm Mercedes match is awesome, I don't think you can do that while Mercedes has those 4 other titles. I think maybe that's the line.
What match can't you do?
Mercedes versus Toni for the world title.
Yeah.
So that's where I maybe draw the line. And I'd rather have, let's just say for it All In, right? If let's say I get my way and it's Statlander versus Bayne, you could do Mercedes Athena 2 or 3, whatever it's up to by that point, where Athena is the one who dethrones Mercedes, which I'd be down with because it gives Athena a title on AEW television. And then maybe I don't know what you do with Toni, but you know who I'm never going to ever be worried about? Toni Storm, because she'll do something amazing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It is worrisome, not because of Toni, but because of Toni, who doesn't always book women when they're not doing title things.
Oh no. I agree with the sentiment, but in the present right now, I disagree because look, Harley Cameron's in this tournament, so he gets it. Once he pops for someone, he puts them on. I saw the funniest tweet. I forgot who said it, but they were like, Toni versus Mariah made Tony Khan a feminist.
I saw that. That was really
Yeah.
good. That was
Where
a
it's
really
like, because ever since then he's put like random women's main events across the shows. I'm like, oh no, I think he's finally been awakened.
Yeah.
He
No,
gets it now.
He did it the 2 weeks previous to this, at least on Dynamite, and then this week he didn't have one. But the women weren't in the time slot of death,
Yep.
which was
Yeah.
nice. They were like the third like big segment here. It was right after following this. James, I did want to get your opinion on one thing before we moved on. Them seemingly giving away Mercedes Moné versus Athena in the semis seems like a big deal to me.
So this is where I don't know if I'm. Oh, please keep it up. I don't know.
Hey, yo.
He's talking about his nips and bits. Oh my god!
I'm all over the place. I think we're going to see a big upset in this tournament in the first round somewhere. I don't know if that's Billy upsetting Jamie. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
The only reason I say that is because, like you said, we just saw this match. We just saw Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks happen. I think it was on Collision. And they teased after the matchup Hayter versus Athena. I think there's a reality where maybe Hayter takes the ROH title off of Athena. And I'm so sorry. Allergies season is rough right now. So I don't know if that's Billy upsetting Jamie. I don't know if that's Jamie screwing over Athena. And somehow Harley makes it to the second round.
And I got a Mercedes Harley rematch. Oh shit!
I wouldn't hate it. I don't think there's a reality where there's no reality where Julia somehow gets to the second round instead of Mercedes. But there's also no, you can't do it in the semis. But I was gonna say maybe Athena and Mercedes get to the semis and then they double count out or double DQ or whatever. That way you don't waste the win on that match in this tournament, and then you can have the title match with them at All In. I don't know. But I think there is going to be some level of fuckery somewhere in this tournament. I don't think so with the men. I think with the men, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be whoever gets there, gets there. With these women, I think there's going to be something that is either going to be shocking or upsetting, or we're just going to see some interference. So Billy is, I know, sort of at odds with Athena right now. They're still together. As far I don't know the full details because I kind of fell off a little bit with ROH, but they're still together in some capacity. So I don't know. I think there's something there, and I'm really, really intrigued because All In has the potential to have the most women matches that I think AEW has ever had on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, that'd be okay. Like Danny said, Tony Khan is a feminist now, so maybe we'll actually see that. I do have to agree with I don't think we're gonna get Starks Athena in the finals just because
I don't think so either.
It still feels to me like this, despite the Jamie Hayter thing you mentioned, it still feels to me like Billy's the one who takes the ROH title off of Athena.
I don't want it at this point. She's lost too many times.
Yeah, well, I guess that's fair. But I think Billy over Jamie is a really good upset pick. If we were like filling out brackets, that would be something I would seriously consider. Maybe we should fill out brackets. That would be something fun.
That's a good shout for the upset. I think you're onto something there. I think if it is going to happen in a match, that's the one you got to do it in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, this is a damn near perfect tournament. There's no real problems with it. Like, and I think I like that they announced it ahead of time. Like, maybe you could argue Willow should be in this, but I like that they're keeping her busy, and that's why she's not in it. She got murdered tonight, so she's a little busy, you know. But
it's the same reason why Ricochet is not in the men's tournament.
Because he's an idiot and he got married instead of showing up to work.
I was going to say because he's challenging for Kenny's title, but also true.
Yeah, same thing with Speedball. I mean, Speedball is going for a title, and he probably would have been great in the Owen, but instead he's going for the International Championship as well. So, yeah, there was some smart booking there. And we'll have a lot more time to talk about the Owen as it happens. I said maybe we'll try to do some sort of bracket challenge or something. I don't know if we just want to do that between us or maybe invite some of the fans in. We could talk about it. I'm just figuring shit out on air. But let's try to burn through the rest of the episode here because there was a lot of other stuff that happened to set up for Dynasty. Let's go back a segment before this. After the opening match, we had a backstage interview with FTR following their mishaps on Saturday, where Dax accidentally struck referee Paul Turner, along with knocking over Cash Wheeler. So there's a bit of animosity there. But Dax asked Paul Turner to be there, and Renee asked Dax about putting his hands on Paul and getting fined for it. And Dax again apologized, similar to what he did in the sit-down interview last week, for letting his emotions get the best of him. And he paid the fine directly to Paul Turner, saying, go out, take your wife out, buy her something nice, buy her a nice dinner. And Turner very much appreciated both the apology and obviously the $10,000, which I did not know those fines went right to the ref. I thought they went to Toni.
They don't. He requested it.
Oh, he requested to give the money to Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was just giving him a check as a show of good faith.
No,
okay. He actually gave it to Paul. Good for Paul. I mean, technically you should have gave him $9,900 because you don't have to report it to the IRS then, but whatever. Anyway, Renee, trust me, I know somebody owes me $100 because they had to give me that. Anyway, Renee then asked FTR about getting their chemistry back, and Dax says that nothing that happened the past few weeks will eclipse the past 11 years between him and Cash, but what will eclipse everything FTR did will be what Rated FTR does this weekend. As for Dax putting his hands on Cash on Collision, he says that he thought Cash was a security guard and he would never put his hands on Cash. And he again apologized and he goes in for the hug. But Cash stops him, saying that they are brothers and they will be fine on Sunday. But after that, they will need to talk. So there's a lot of stuff moving around with that trios match, which we'll get to a bit later. But apparently James is either tired or bored with that. So we will
bored
to our.
I could not be less interested in. Oh my God, there's strife between FTR, these two career tag team guys who, if they ever split up, would kill both of their careers. No, not for a second do I buy any of it.
Well, let me just say singles Dax is awesome. But anyway.
That's what I said last week, but not enough.
He's great, but he's a loser. I buy Max Caster winning a singles match before I see Dax winning a singles match.
Not recently.
Let's go, Max. You're the best wrestler alive. But
let's go, Max. He's the best wrestler alive.
Dax, look, I want to say two things. One, I agree. I'm not super excited about it, but I love Dax's approach to this. I love when a heel turn is just a babyface sarcastically being the most reasonable and logical person in the world. Where Dax is like, hey, I fucked up. I did something wrong. So let me do a formal apology. I'm giving you this ridiculous fine. He's being very transparent, but just a little bit in a tongue-in-cheek way. I love when that's like the start of a heel turn is just logical. Like, oh yeah, like I was wrong. This is why I was wrong. This is me apologizing. Even though for some reason that's never enough in wrestling. Even though we just saw it earlier in the show with the Swerve planting the seats. But I like it. Also, Dax, don't fuck with them, The man has a gun. He's not afraid to use it. Don't fuck with them. And the last thing I wanted to say was specifically to Rev. You see how good I am at distracting James and getting James. I pull him into the tangents. Like I pull him in I pulled him in like 5 times this episode.
I'm aware. That's why we're at an hour 23 already, hour 24, and we're not even halfway through the show.
Here's the fun fact. I love the tangents. I don't go on them out of respect for somebody who's not here right now. So while he's away,
rest in peace.
Moving on. I did actually, Maria brought up a good point. This is shades of the New Day heel turn story. So I don't know if they're I guess they're both probably going to turn heel.
All is flat.
We'll see. Yeah, whether it's them turning on Cope at Dynasty and we get Cope and Christian at All In or something else. I don't know, but I think you're right, James. I think they have to stay together. All right, after this, we had the Owen tournament bracket reveal, and then we went to Timeless Toni Storm versus Penelope Ford. This was it is in England, but not here in America for obvious reasons.
Yeah, sports betting's the worst thing in the world, but continue.
Anyway, this was a pretty standard match. Toni had a wild moment in the middle of it, though, where Penelope went to lick her face and Toni just bit her tongue, which was pretty cool. And that actually helped Toni.
Collectively bonk, right? We're adults. We can admit bonk.
That wasn't the part that bonked me. It ended up turning the match around for Toni, so I got invested into it. Toni won where, after a little bit of confusion, I think somebody forgot their spot, but Toni was able to get the train back on track. And Ford hit a matrix to dodge a Toni strike, and then Ford hit the ropes. And then Toni caught her, kicked her in the midsection, and hit a Storm Zero for the win. And then after the match, Megan Bayne came out on the stage, and Toni tried to pick a fight with her, but Bayne wasn't having any of it. That was the part of the match that bombed me, with Megan Bayne in that, what was it, a dress, whatever it was. But like I said, James, nothing overly special here. It was a solid match. It helped set up for Sunday, but, nothing crazy.
I'd hate to cut James off, right? I hate to do it, but just a real quick. I really like that Toni didn't get into it with Bayne, because that plants the seeds of maybe Bayne will actually win, because if they had to just lay out Toni again, it's like, oh, okay, that's one too many. Like, okay, Toni has to win. But now, because they stood even, I'm like, oh, maybe still Megan Bayne wins. It's a win-win, because if Toni's still the champion, that's fantastic. But if Megan Bayne wins, holy fucking shit, that's crazy.
Brock
like, I'm on
Lesnar
board.
push.
So I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, James, you were saying before you were so politely interrupted.
The rules of opposite momentum say that Megan is winning, because Toni had the big moment, the big victory tonight. Granted, she confronted her and she kind of stood tall, but the numbers, the math is on Megan's side to win this Sunday, unless something happens on Collision.
Yeah.
But nothing important happens on Collision, right?
Some important things happen on Collision.
I'm very upset that important stuff is starting to happen on Collision.
Good show.
I like it.
I don't keep up with it enough. Like, I watch it via clips, and I don't want to be that viewer.
Yeah.
But
I mean, hey, that's how I watch Raw and SmackDown and NXT. It's like literally all my WWE content is consumed via clips.
And that is the best way to consume it, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by far. But that's just a pacing and styling thing for me personally.
But
same.
Regardless, I enjoyed the matchup enough. I am really rooting for Penelope Ford. I want her to do well, and she has just been booked as the jobber to the stars when it comes to facing these baby faces since she's come back. And I get somebody needs to fill that role, but God, give the girl a win every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, she got a tag win the other week with Bayne. She picked up a W, maybe not a singles W, but a W. But yeah, no, that's the role she's been in right now. But hey, at least she's on TV and she's doing good work.
She's consistently working, and I'm happy for her.
It's like I mentioned earlier about the people, the good and the bad of this. The people who are on TV a lot losing, but sometimes it works out, like a Queen Aminata or Harley Cameron. Sometimes it's Penelope Ford, and it just is what it is.
Sometimes it's Anna Jay, and where has she been?
Ring of Honor, I think.
That's not real. That's not a real place.
You love Ring of Honor.
I do, but like,
Aminata hasn't been jobbing recently either. She just had a really great series of 3 matches with Julia Hart on Collision. So I think she ended up losing like the third one, but it was still apparently there were 3 straight bangers. She killed Julia's head in that second match. So even if she's not winning the feud, she's winning matches and putting on absolute bangers. So good for her. All right. After this, we ended up with the backstage with Swerve, and then we came back to the ring for what was going to be a promo from the Hurt Syndicate Fortunately, as we mentioned earlier, Shelton couldn't get there because of the inclement weather. So it was just MVP and my man Bobby Lashley. And before Bobby could even speak, MJF music hit and he came down to the ring. After once again buttering up MJF says that he might have just interrupted Bob, but it was Bob who did the same thing last week to him. Still, MJF is willing to forgive this because Bobby is friends with MVP and hasn't really met MJF before. So MJF introduces himself. His name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman, for saying that he obviously knows Bob, saying he is both a legend and he has been around the block. But this is the street that MJF built, and he's the one who knows his way around AEW, so much so that he can help Bobby and Shelton hold the tag titles for as long as their cold hearts desire, and they can help him regain the AEW World Championship. MJF says that him joining the Hurt Syndicate is good business, even if Bobby doesn't want MVP. Wants MJF. He needs MJF. In my defense, Bobby made that MJF MVP mistake too. Anyway, and it was right at this point where Bobby says the only reason he's not leaving MJF lying right now is out of respect for MVP. Bobby says that he doesn't like nor trust MJF, and the Hurt business doesn't want nor need MJF until proven otherwise. MJF off mic then says that Bobby clearly wants to see him prove himself, so he thanks the two men for their time and leaves. And then MVP and Bobby have some discussion about MJF before the music of the Learning Tree hits for their match. And we'll get into all that in a second because this all kind of ran together like it did last week. But Danny, this has been an interesting storyline. I did kind of mention earlier, I think Cedric might be joining in the near future. MVP teased that the Syndicate was looking for a fourth member. But I'm curious to see how MJF's going to play into Sunday because he isn't booked at the moment, as far as I'm aware. And the Hurt Syndicate are in the tag title match. It will be against Big Bill and Brian Keith. So I'm curious to see if maybe he tries to help the Hurt Syndicate win and how that ends up playing into the finish of that match.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head at the end there, that I think he will pop in and try to help the Hurt Syndicate win. I think I could go either way. Either he successfully helps or he fails to help, and they're still going to win regardless. That's, not up for debate. But, he might fuck things up a little bit, and then it gets worse. Because part of me thought, because I momentarily forgot that they were going to defend the tag titles against Big Bill and Brian Keith.
Yeah, it wasn't announced until the end of the show.
But we knew it was going to happen, but I forgot about it. So I was like, are they going to do MJF versus Bobby as like a proven ground like kind of match? And I was like, that's crazy. MJF should win that match, by the way, if they do it. But I was like, that would be kind of interesting. But I do think this is a good story. It's very interesting. MJF is really good at non-title things. I think he might be, besides Hangman, like the best in the company with that. So I want them to work together at least for some period of time. I do not want this to be fuck you, you're not in, but here comes Cedric. Because then that's how you set up Cedric for failure. Because that was disappointing. If it was to bring in someone like more exciting or different from Cedric, maybe it'll work. But I'd rather MJF be in this group for a little bit because it's such a funny juxtaposition with how serious Bobby is and how serious Shelton is in AEW and their presentation, and just MJF being like the sniveling heel. Like that sounds so much more exciting than adding another member who's the same, and super serious. I think that would be a nice way to go about this. I'm on board for this. I'm willing to take this ride for quite a while longer. I'm very interested in where it goes.
I can definitely see them doing a thing where, especially if MJF does succeed in helping the Hurt Syndicate hold on to the tag titles on Sunday, seeing them doing a thing where they the other 3 members can see the business opportunity that MJF could present to them for a little while, knowing all the while long that they're going to get rid of him at some point. And, and MJF could also try to be scheming to either get rid of Bobby or Shelton, or maybe even just take the whole group from MVP. Whatever it is, you could try to have MJF trying to scheme on the side and have the actual Hurt Syndicate be one step ahead of him. And then eventually, when the shit hits the fan and MJF maybe tries to usurp whomever, then you bring Shelton in, and he's the true 4th member of the group, and they kick MJF to the curb. So I could definitely see them doing something like that, James.
You said Shelton.
I said Cedric. I was just talking really fast.
Oh man, how terrible would it be if MVP did like the William Regal turn on the BCC with MJF just to like fuck off a month later?
He hates Triple H too much to go over there.
Yeah, which is one of the many reasons I respect MVP.
I'm gonna kind of go against the grain a little bit. I want MVP in the Hurt Syndicate. I want him to be like their Owen Hart, or dare I say their Sami Zayn.
Oh, you said MVP.
Yeah, MJF in the Hurt Syndicate. MVP is in the Hurt Syndicate already.
Damn it.
How are you going against the grain? It sounds like you're agreeing with us so far.
But I don't want there to be any shenanigans. I don't want him to usurp anything. I just actually want him to be part of this. No backstabbing. Because quite frankly, I have no desire to see Bobby Lashley versus MJF. I have no desire to see MJF versus Shelton Benjamin. And I have no desire to see MJF versus Cedric Alexander. So
what about MVP?
What about? I was just about to say.
I love MVP. I never need to see that man wrestle ever again.
What about MVP versus Jeff Jarrett?
Why?
The Hurt Syndicate kicks out MJF after a couple months, and then who comes to his aid out of all people? The worst feud MJF has had since Adam Cole.
So feud that happened right after Adam Cole.
I think I'm good.
No, I'm good. I'm good
too. I'm just,
You're bringing up concepts. You're bringing up ideas, and that's what we need. We need creative minds here. I kind of just want MJF to be part of the group. Like, I don't need, like, he could break up with them and he could leave the group or whatever.
Our business is concluded here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And everyone just goes on their way.
1,000% yes. I don't need anything. We saw what happens when MJF gets betrayed. We've seen MJF betray groups. I'm good. This is a business arrangement, and I like that. I like that. So let it ride. Or at the very least, like Danny says, I want to see how far this could go or how long it could go. I'm invested enough. So, and that's not something I could say for MJF for a very long time. Like that I'm invested in something that he's doing. Interested, sure. I could say interested. Like I was interested with the Danny Garcia stuff. I'm invested in this story.
I agree, but I was also invested in MJF versus Hangman, but I get what you mean.
I was too, but it was such it was so short, and I feel like this could be the next MJF real storyline,
Okay, but I like that the Hangman one was short.
Oh, I do too. I do too. It served its purpose for both men, in my opinion. More so for Hangman, but it served its purpose for both men.
Well, it also drove MJF here, which is a good thing.
Yeah. When I think MJF, though, I think long-term storytelling. Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, Adam Cole. That just he gets it. He doesn't do it as well as Hangman, unfortunately, but I don't really blame him as much as I blame circumstances. But yeah, I'm in on this. I'm in on this, and I would love it, quite frankly, if they kind of play up the fact, Shelton is he couldn't make it on Sunday. MJF is the replacement partner.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I hope no offense, Shelton, but I hope that happens.
That's plausible now that I think about it.
Like, you take what happened today, this real circumstance, and then you play it up for Sunday, and yeah.
I don't know if that's the direction they were going, but considering everybody else was there, that might actually be plausible. They might have been just trying to look for any excuse to not have Shelton be there today to set this up. So, yeah, that'd be interesting. Maria also saying she loves the story in the comments. You know what? Asking, wouldn't MJF or the real MJF take all this as disrespect? And I think he's trying to push that aside because he sees the business opportunity.
Yes. He did not see the value of Jeff Jarrett. He wanted to manipulate Jeff Jarrett because he thought it would be an easy title win for himself. But he sees how these people could actually get him to the world title if things go the way he wants them to.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maria saying that MJF is going to cost the Hurt Syndicate the tag championships. Maybe eventually. I would bet a crisp dollar bill there is no way on earth the Hurt Syndicate are dropping the tag titles to Big Bill and Bandit Keith on Sunday. And
what did I say about sports betting ruining this country?
I'm betting on art, sir. I'm betting on art. And I can't imagine a world like, let's say they win it. Who the big match for the tag titles is like, I could see Cope and Christian versus the Hurt Syndicate. I could see that match being an all in. Cope and Christian versus Chris Jericho's flunkies. No.
Yeah.
You say that. you say that, but I
There's
can
also-
see that because it would be some bad shit that Jericho would do nowadays.
There's also, I think, the fact that Keith and Bill have been very clearly warming up to the idea of leaving Jericho. So the loss here, I think, puts that right into the next gear, and they're going to be out from underneath the learning tree within the next month or so.
Do you really think that two super protected guys like Cope and Lashley, one of those teams has to lose, you know? You can really see that match, but you can't see Cope and Christian versus the two guys you know they're gonna beat. Come on, like that. It's just as realistic.
Not at all in.
And also, by the way, if Big Bill and Brian Keith win the tag titles, you know Jericho's gonna say as a tag champ, and they're gonna freebird that shit. So now that you've put this out there, unfortunately, it might just happen.
I think you put more out there than I did.
I didn't put anything out there.
You walked us down the line.
That's what I took from what you said. You put it out there.
I don't think I did.
All right. Anyway, speaking of the learning
You
tree,
built the bridges, I just get over them.
If Chris Jericho claims himself as a tag team champion world, it's not my fault. It's Danny's fault.
No,
Don't
you
let him
built the
gaslight
bridge.
you into
built the
thinking
bridge.
this
I
is my
just read
fault.
the road signs and crossed it.
I don't think I think maybe I accidentally laid foundation. You were fucking paving that shit down.
No, you did all the labor. I don't want to take credit for your work, and I refuse
I don't want
to.
credit for this abomination either.
This is all you, man.
now I see why Toni Rielli has a mute button. Anyway, as I mentioned, as the Hurt Syndicate were discussing MJF proposal once again, they were interrupted by Big Bill and the bounty hunter Brian Keith. And as their music hit, because they came down for their match, the four men had a tense exchange on the entrance ramp with Bill offering Bobby a seat to watch their match. And they were going to leave, but the match happened so quickly they didn't really have a chance to, because Keith and Bill destroyed these two men before anyone could even say their names, which is why I have them down as your rival from Gold, Crystal, and Silver. And Bill even tossed one of them out of the ring at Bobby's feet. Bill ended up winning with a massive chokeslam with MVP and Bobby looking on. After the match, Bill grabbed the mic and said on Collision, they whipped Top Flight's ass. And tonight they whipped these guys' ass because, again, nobody got their names. And on Sunday, they're going to whip the Hurt Syndicate's ass because they want that tag title match. MVP grabs the mic and pretends to say something, but then he just drops the mic and leaves. And then eventually, as I said, they made this match official at the end of the night. So, yeah, this is a squash through and through. And, yeah, they just did it to make the match official on Sunday. That's all that really happened.
Yep.
I feel bad for those guys, though, who didn't get their names on TV. Like, that one dude took that crazy bump getting tossed out of the ring and didn't even get an initial.
Did I imagine this, or did the chokeslam Bill hit at the end to finish the match look like he hit it so gingerly on the guy? I feel like there was no impact on that chokeslam.
James,
I don't know. I
please,
didn't
we
even
don't
really
need
look.
tangents right now, James. We gotta move on.
I didn't even really look, but he held him up there forever. So maybe he was starting to lose his grip, and he just kind of let him down easier then. After this, we went backstage with Mercedes Moné for an interview. Renee asked Mercedes about her first round matchup in the Owen with Julia Hart, which, as I mentioned, is on at Dynasty. And Moné said that Julia is very good and highly unpredictable and very spooky. Plus, she's a former TBS champion, but she's going to be more than being spooky, and she is not the greatest TBS champ of all time, so there's no way that she's going to lose. Renee then asks about the tag team match on Collision and who she will be teaming with. And before Renee even finished her thought, Puppet Mercedes makes her grand return as Mercedes, as we mentioned earlier, is indeed teaming up with Harley Cameron. Harley says that she's thought of a great tag team name for the two of them, and she thought her and Mercedes had some good chemistry when they brought the house down under. And as she goes to give the team name, Mercedes cuts her off, grabbing the puppet, saying that all Harley needs to do on Saturday is stay out of the way before leaving, with Harley yelling towards her that it was good to see her. Harley then says she's got the perfect name, the Monet Wrath Train, and then Excalibur's like, well, Harley's got a few more days to work on it. But the puppet was back, and that's all that really matters.
You gotta get your money's worth out of that puppet, you know?
I did like Taz was just like, I want to buy one. And I think Taz was just everybody like, yes, we all want to buy Mercedes puppets.
He's going into business for himself. He's like, hey, marketing team, I'm forcing you to make this now.
Yeah, dangerous game with Mercedes stands, but probably make a ton of money on them.
Oh, yeah.
Following this, we had Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight facing off against Blake Christian and Shotty Lee Johnson. Obviously, Ospreay and Knight are first-round opponents in the Owen. This match ended with Johnson up in the electric chair on Christian's shoulders, and Knight was able to get way up for a dropkick on Johnson, knocking the two men down and forcing Johnson to hit a Poison Rana on Christian. That sent him to the outside, so Ospreay came over and left the apron to hit a plancha onto him. On the other side of things, Knight then jumped on the apron and hit a massive springboard lariat onto Johnson and pinned him for the W. After the match, Toni announced that Ospreay with Knight would be on Dynasty, and the two men shook hands, but Knight didn't release the handshake when Ospreay went to leave and pulled him back to talk a little more trash. This match was really good. It was my first experience with Knight, at least that I can remember. So
you met the man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shit.
Wow. Must not have made an impression on you.
You physically met the man at Hog.
You were like, who is this short guy talking to me? Why?
I'm going to have to go find the picture. But now I feel bad. I mean, also, come on, dude. I was probably hammered. Anyway, I was even more impressed with him than tonight. He is on my All Done contest team in AEW. So very impressed with him, James. And Christian continues to impress me. The more I see him, he had that really cool 450 stomp onto Ospreay near the end of this match. And he's just been doing good work both in the ring and as being a heel. So this was a really good matchup. And Knight's been killing it so far here in AEW. So good for him.
No, I agree. I'm happy for him. I was saying it before, too, when we were talking about the tournament. He is a talent that AEW is getting relatively young. Let me double check his age real quick. Kevin Knight is, he's 28. You know,
it's pretty young.
He's still on the young side. He's gotten a good upbringing in wrestling through New Japan, being a partner of Kushida, studying at the dojo. And he's somewhat tenured while still having a big future ahead of him. So I think he's a good talent. He's shown that he can be somewhat of a high flyer. He can keep up at the very least, somewhat keep up with someone like Will Ospreay. So I'm very excited for the matchup come Sunday. And I'm happy that he's being highlighted in this on this grander stage than TNA. So it's good all around, and Ospreay is going to. It's weird to think that Ospreay is sort of in a position now where he's the older guy because he too is still so young. but he's got way more experience around the block than Knight does. So it'll be interesting to see him sort of lead that match come Sunday. And this tag match was all right. Blake Christian has really, really upped his stock since December, since Final Battle for Ring of Honor. So I'm really happy for him in that regard. He's been around this new era of Ring of Honor and a little bit of the last era, if I'm not mistaken. But he's been around this new era of Ring of Honor since day one. And Shoddy Lee getting on Dynamite. Good for him. That's the win, you know? That's the win.
Yeah, no, I Johnson's, he's really young, so I think he's been in Ring of Honor mostly of late. But he's been putting on good work the last couple of weeks. He was on the pre-show for Revolution, and he did good stuff there with Christian. I think they face off. Yeah, that was the hologram and Commander match, and he's on here again, and he's impressing again. So Danny, just a good match in the middle of this card. Nothing crazy, but it helps set up for the Owen match on Sunday, and you got to show off some good talents, and people got an Ospreay match, so wins all around.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys summed it up pretty well. Literally just here. Well, it served its purpose, right? It got Ospreay on the card, and I like that we're at a point where it feels like a necessity. It's like, well, you're really not going to give this crowd an Ospreay match? Like, that's not fair. Like, come on. So, like, good, again, like we said earlier, good for Ospreay. Like, he's at such a cool and interesting point in his career and his position in the company. It's where it's like, it kind of makes me have nothing but respect for the guy, but this night looked great. I think he got to win on TV, and even though he's probably going to lose, I mean, not probably, he's 100% going to lose at the pay-per-view. Giving him this little bit of a showcase, and then the fact that he's on pay-per-view, how long has he been signed with the company? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and he's on a pay-per-view already. That's a ringing endorsement. Like, that's worth something. So, good on them. Blake Christian, he's like a mix of Blake Griffin and Abraham from The Walking Dead, and that one anime character that Blake Griffin looks like, I don't know the name of, so he's got a vibe going on. And yeah, Lee Johnson, AEW television, is the pandemic back? What's going on? But good on him. Fun match, served its purpose. Not too much more to say about it.
Exactly. So let's move on. After this, we went quickly backstage with the Ops. Joe answered the question of why he put the team together, saying he saw the battlefield changing and he needed to bring in some different weapons. And now that they've had a few experimental forays in the ring, they will be there in Philly to watch and see all, and they better not catch you lacking.
Real quick. I'm sorry. This will be 15 seconds. You can count me, James. Count me, James. Go. I love the Ops. They're so cool. Like, in the most wrestling sense, fantastic. Fuck rated FTR. They should dethrone the Death Riders.
Yes, no, 100%. They should be the ones to dethrone.
No, I and I think they're going to. I think once upon a time, rated FTR would have made sense, but we're very clearly going towards the FTR heel turn.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I agree. The Ops make a lot of sense. A lot of sense. I
found the picture of us. There we go. I did meet him. Whoops. All right. After this, I'm
fascinated that you now have the superpower that Producer Boy had, that you're just pulling stuff up on the screen.
I always had the power. I just never did it because I'm hosting, and I was just the Owen stuff I had set up, and then I was just like, all right, well, now that I got a clean handle on
this. James, maybe if you, helped out a bit more and distributed some of the work more evenly, Rev could do that kind of thing more.
I am helping out by not doing anything technologically. You have me pressing buttons and we're in trouble.
That's true. I just can't be on Twitter while hosting. It's a lot. But pulling up pictures and stuff, I can usually do it pretty quickly. Anyway, after this, we had our meat match for the evening. We saw Brody King, take on the Murder Hawk monster, Lance Archer. Brody faces off against Takeshita in the first round of the Owen, as we discussed. So this was a good way for a member of the Dodd Callis family to tenderize the meat of Brody King before that matchup.
Why the fuck isn't Hobbs in the tournament?
Oh,
Good
yeah,
question.
good point.
Yeah, Tobbs, that would have been a good one.
Like, don't do a tournament with huge stakes if you're not willing to put the biggest names in there, even if it means they have to eat a pin, you know?
The biggest pieces of meat. And big steaks, big meat. Anyway, speaking of the family, that carny piece of shit, Don Callis, was on commentary where he talked shit to yet another lookalike in the stands. Excalibur called him a size queen, and he obviously got involved in the middle of the match, even though he ran away like a scalded dog every time Brody even looked his way. This match ended where after Brody hit a cannonball and a short-armed lariat that Archer kicked out of, Brody attempted to go for a pile driver, but he was unable to lift Archer, so Archer battled back and then attempted a choke slam. However, Brody was able to block that and escape the choke, hitting the ropes and laying out Archer with a massive lariat, following into the pinfall and picking up the dub. Danny, same thing as the last match. It was good, solid meat match, did its job. Nothing spectacular, but still very enjoyable.
Just giving Brody his win before he goes into the tournament. Makes perfect sense on paper.
Pretty much.
100%.
And James, I mean, we want Brody to win more, but this was a win he needed to have after the last few weeks, as Danny said, before he headed into the tournament.
It's the only justification for him being in this tournament that he got to win.
Yeah.
I know. I think I'm the last defender. I really do like Archer. I don't need him to win anything major ever, but I wish he was used a little bit more. So it was nice to just see him in this matchup.
Yeah, I've honestly been enjoying him with Don. I think him and Cage are really cool together. I would love to see them win like the tag, the ROH tag titles.
I'd be fine with that. I'd absolutely be fine with that.
Yeah, put some gold on them.
I'm still PO'd that the Murder Machines got screwed out of their tag title match. The one that was being set up. It's gone.
Why are we getting Big Bill and Brian Keith versus the Hurt Syndicate, but not Lance Archer and Brian Cage? Like, what the hell?
I would really like to see that in the near future. I still think Brody and Buddy take the tag titles off of the Hurt Syndicate in the future. So that's what I want to happen.
Cool with it. I don't think it's happening. I'd be cool with it, but I don't think it's happening.
I mean, I think the Hurt Syndicate is going to hold those titles for a fucking while. So
I think they lose at All In to a mega team, whether that's Swerve and Hangman, Christian and Cope.
Maybe, yeah. If it's not that, I hope it's Buddy and Brody because they deserve a run with the tag titles.
I'll put it this way: I have faith in Brody and Buddy taking the tag titles off of Shelton and Cedric. I don't have faith in them taking the tag titles off of Shelton and Bobby.
That is a fair point. Also, Brody sounds like their coupled online nickname.
Yeah.
The poor man too of their nickname. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, let's head to our main event of the evening, which saw Adam Copeland face off against Claudio Castagnoli. My first thought was, wow, they're giving them a lot of time. We eventually saw why they gave them so much time after this match. Before the commercial, Copeland speared Claudio off the apron onto the floor, but when Copeland got back into the ring to follow up with the tope, Claudio met him with a massive European uppercut, which I thought was all pretty cool. To get to the end of the match after countering a springboard uppercut with a big boot, because, why stop with the Hogan comparisons? Copeland lined up a spear on Claudio, but Claudio was able to avoid it and countered with a pop-up uppercut. And Copeland what I thought was a very cool move. He grabbed the bottom rope instead of kicking out, which I liked a lot. I don't know if that was an accident or they did that on purpose, but either way, I thought it was a nice touch. Claudio then hit a neutralizer, and Copeland was able to kick out of that. So Claudio got frustrated, and he jumped out of the ring to grab a couple of chairs to set up for a concerto. However, referee Bryce Renberg wasn't having none of that shit, and he took one of the chairs from Claudio, who began to argue with him and put his hands on him a little before eventually turning back around to deal with Copeland. However, as Bryce was removing the chair from the ring and Claudio was distracted by all this, Copeland actually hit him in the dick with a low blow and then eventually got back up, lined up and hit a spear to pick up the W. So he went to the back, and then we had all the Swerve stuff. But Danny, this was a surprising wrinkle to everything here, I thought, for me, because we obviously have all of the FTR drama happening, and now we have a Copeland who a little understandable. They were saying on commentary, turnabout's fair play with the Death Riders at this point, but he hit a blow to win, and that is seemingly out of character for Copeland, even in the last few months, where he's been in the last few months fine, not totally out of character. But within the last few months, while he's been willing to get violent, Danny, he hasn't resorted to cheating. And this is the first time I feel like we've seen that since he's joined AEW.
I mean, I think he
stooped
lower. I think he stooped lower before, like he showed respect to Wheeler Yuta. So, like, he knows no bounds.
Just when he pulls me back in.
That was great setup.
Especially, too, because I'm, like, nervously racking my brain. I'm like, when else did he cheat in AEW? I thought I made a decent point, and then Danny just fucking pulls the old switcheroo on me.
I mean, he's not wrong, though.
Right, he's not.
That was my whole analysis, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Nut shot, punch of the day. It's all the same, Your bits. James is having a lot of trouble with those today. But
some bits, baby.
I mean, James, do you think, or how do you think this plays in now to the rated FTR storyline? Because I like I said, it's just a very interesting wrinkle for me, at least.
I don't want to devalue your opinion on this, but I think considering the guy was just about to concerto him, I think turnabout's fair play. Like, it's Cope. This is a guy who's essentially a career heel. Like, we're in the epilogue, so that's why it's different. But, like, him using some underhanded tactics to overcome the actual bad guy of the match, it's fine. I think if there's anything more heelish about this, it's that he didn't get involved in the Swerve situation.
Yeah, nor did FTR, excuse me.
FTR is fine. I'm willing to believe that they split up after that situation. Like, they left the arena after he paid the fine.
But even if they came in, like, separately, I was just expecting at least one of them, if not all of them, being rated FTR, to show up, because it wasn't just Moxley, it was also their opponents there, too. It was a little surprising that none of them came out to help. Now, I still think it made Swerve look like more of a badass when he did the sit-up, so it ended up working out well. But kayfabe, it was a little dumb.
Good for Swerve, but again, you just wrestled Claudio. If Claudio was that close to the stage, where were you, buddy?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I also just think this kind of just maybe I'm reading too much into it, but with the way Dax has been acting, and now Copeland willing to cheat to defeat the Death Riders, I mean, we're just leaning towards an entire rated FTR heel turn instead of just FTR, or, like, God forbid, just Dax. Like, maybe that's what we're leaning more towards. And again, maybe it's just me seeing a little too much into it with a guy, trying to escape a concerto. But
I mean, it is a fun wrinkle to think about us getting Christian and Cope, but Cope turns heel to join Christian. Like, that is a fun twist on it.
I was always kind of expecting it.
That's what I prefer too.
Oh no, I prefer. I mean, fun fact: I don't think Edge and Christian were ever a babyface tag team.
We just look back on them fondly because they were funny.
Yeah, like, I don't think they were ever actually faces. Maybe very, very briefly when they wrestled the Hardys in the Terry Invitational, but. Yeah, I think they are pretty much always a heel tag team. So it would make sense for them to be heels here.
I wouldn't even mind if they teased it out a little bit longer, just the reunion itself, and hopefully not for too much. But if all three men turn heel on Sunday and win the titles, and Christian, because it seems like Nick Wayne is going to turn on him in the near future, and Christian's now face, and Cope tells him to go fuck himself. I think that would be fun, at least for a little bit. And I'm sure it would go on too long and I would regret it. But in the instance, it would be decent.
I need this ride to end. I am willing to watch Christian and Cope as a tag team. I have no desire to see them wrestle anymore.
I don't want them to wrestle anymore. I just want Copeland to tell Christian to go fuck himself, and then he's just out there on his own for the first time in a while.
Well, don't let Cope affect how good Christian's been in AEW.
Yes, no, yeah. But I want like Christian to kind of have a redemption arc, and he starts by going to Copeland, and Copeland tells him to fuck off. I think it could be interesting story writing, but who knows? I mean, we got to see what ends up happening with Rated FTR if they win the titles, if they don't. If they turn heel, if they don't, we'll see. There's a lot going on there. But yeah, that was Dynamite, and I thought it was a pretty solid go-home show. The wrestling, I don't think was as good as maybe we've seen in the past couple of weeks, James, but I thought we still got some solid matches, and really what they were trying to do here was really just set up for Dynasty on Sunday. Yeah. And in that, I thought they succeeded in spades, not only with the matches, but also with their non-wrestling segments.
As a go-home show, I think this accomplished pretty much everything it needed to. Swerve looks like a force going after Mox. Megan Bayne looks threatening as all hell to Toni Storm.
And gorgeous. Bonk.
You're not wrong. I think you could take Joey Janela.
I wouldn't want to take Joey Janela.
But you could.
Wait, what, Danny?
But he could.
Yeah, I think he could. I think you could, man.
I mean,
put, like, your hand out, like, and just like grab his forehead while he's swinging on you.
I was gonna say respectfully, I probably am taller than him, but I'm taller than almost every wrestler we've ever met. So
just throw a table at him.
I think he eats those for breakfast without milk.
The fiber. Yeah, I enjoyed this for what it was. We go back and forth a lot with AEW. Their go home shows are not always the best.
Yeah,
but I think this was a stronger one. I think that we had a great match to start the show. I thought Mox and Marina versus Swerve and Willow was a really fun matchup and really got the ball rolling for the narrative that was there throughout the night. I don't understand why Kenny Omega wasn't there tonight. But
I was going to ask you. I was like, did they accomplish everything?
I mean, granted, how much setup do you need for that triple threat match? We know why we're watching. We're watching for these three athletic men to put on just an absolute banger.
They'll have a really cool like video package, probably with like recorded promos from them on Collision, and yeah, it'll be fine.
But I do miss, like we were talking, Danny said it well. It's like we've gotten to a point where watching Ospreay on Dynamite feels like a necessity. Like, oh, you're really going to punish this crowd by not giving them a Will Ospreay match?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I feel punished that I'm not getting Kenny matches every week, or at least appearances.
He's lucky to be alive, so we got to appreciate what we can get.
While you're right, I demand more.
James is just greedy. If you haven't noticed, James is a very greedy wrestling fan.
Absolutely.
Like, he's willing to admit that he is and be like, yeah, I'm the bad guy here, but he is a very greedy wrestling fan.
I don't hear anything wrong. I'm hearing I want to see my favorite wrestler wrestle. Is that so wrong?
Yeah,
depends on who you're a fan of, I guess.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Imagine telling that to a Roman Reigns fan. Like, what the fuck?
Well, at least they never chanted at him, "You can't wrestle."
That is absolutely not true.
I know.
Yeah,
I just wanted to work that in there. I said that, and then I was just like, "Fuck, I was wrong."
I actually looked up when Cody said it to Cena. I was like, I feel like there has to have been a crowd that ragged him for that. Like, for a long time, his name was the 3-star general.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not doing the tangent.
But that inherently implies that he can wrestle, because that's at least, that's average. But no, I get it. Like, maybe an indie crowd is chanting to that, but like,
yeah.
But they latched on him pretty quickly.
We were booing him in AEW. I don't think we were chanting that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Oh no, I just watched the match with him and MJF, like the one after MJF like whipped him and shit. They were booing him, but nobody chanted that at him. They were just
were booing Cody in the match against MJF.
Yes,
I don't remember that.
That's
Yeah.
us in the that's us in the wrong.
Yeah.
There are times we were valid for Boo and Cody. That's not one of them. But
All right. Okay. You
yeah,
know,
that's true.
You
We
know,
know
you
he's
know-
a smart fan. He's very observant.
we're marks. You know, it's acting like a smart right now.
no, you're the John Cena of this show, where you're
Wow.
the face except
All
to
right.
everybody
No,
who doesn't like.
But that's fair. Right now, I'm the heel of the group. But
No,
I've
no, you've
been
always
the
been
beloved
the heel.
babyface who's done nothing wrong his entire tenure.
Except everything you do wrong. But yeah, no, Danny, I thought this was a good go home show, like James said. It accomplished everything it needed to accomplish. And as he also mentioned, one of the better go home shows they've had, because it's always been the pattern of 2 weeks out is the best episode. The go home show is ass. This was 2 weeks out was great last week. This one was still very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's not a specific AEW problem. I just think that's a modern wrestling problem. I think that's always like go home shows kind of suck now.
Yeah, protecting people and stuff.
Like, they haven't been good for like 7 years at least.
That's
So like,
but I believe him.
You know the answer is always 7.
yeah, like it really is like it predates AEW. This has been like go home shows have been on the decline, but this was a decent one. Like I agree with James that like yeah, if this show goes to another level, if like Kenny or someone else is on it, you get that there, but it's still a good. It was a functional go home show, and that it had goals set out and it accomplished those goals. So, fuck it, that's a success.
Yeah, I thought as James mentioned, the opening match was very good. The Swerve through line with Willow was awesome and was great as the main focal point of the show. I enjoyed Brody versus Archer. I actually, I didn't really talk about it, but Copeland versus Claudio was actually a pretty solid match in terms of like the actual skill in the wrestling and stuff. So, this was a lot of fun. It was a really good episode to watch. I'm very excited about Dynasty this weekend, although I'm probably going to be exhausted because I'm going to Friday and Saturday's Met games, Danny.
Oh shit, nice.
But it should be a lot of fun.
Danny, I am very much thinking about taking the trip to Philly on Sunday. You should come. Rev, I'll drive you. You could sleep in the car.
You're gonna drive. You have one arm.
So I just drove to Gettysburg by myself and back.
Which is
For
way
a
further.
war reenactment? What is it?
Close. Almost as much blood.
Horror convention. But I basically drove one-handed. Like, that's not true. It's 1.5 handed. Like, I'm using my left hand dominant, my left arm dominant, right hand support. So I'm capable of it. But if I could do Gettysburg, I could do Philly way easier.
I actually drive left-hand dominant, so
Inherently, I typically do right-hand dominant, but I'm working with what I got right now.
You drive to Six Flags instead.
My arm's above my head.
Hey.
There.
I was taught by somebody who drives a stick, so you kind of have to do it that way.
Wait, what did you say, Danny?
You
I
also
was
have
thinking we
6
drive to Six Flags instead.
Well, we can and we will. But not instead, not Sunday, but in general, yes.
All right, Saturday.
Are they even open yet?
It's
Yeah.
supposed to rain Saturday.
Wow, way to rain on my parade, Rev.
Well, it might rain on my game, so. Speaking of fun stuff, James, before we get out of here, I did see that James was doing the "You Can't See Me" pretending to yawn. Heel move, playing up the injury.
I'm the Bob Orton. I'm the Bob Orton of the
It's
pod.
a bait and switch.
James, before we get out of here, do you want to talk about our Speedball Mike Bailey autograph giveaway one last time so people can get their entries in?
We are in the home stretch now. I am going to be really amping up on social media. I'm going to be amping up everywhere. Watch our review for Dynasty on Sunday, and we will be giving away an autographed Speedball Mike Bailey 8x10. So he's awesome. You're going to want this autograph. You're going to want to get it now before he gets even hotter, and it's going to be even harder to get his stuff. So yeah, all you got to do, if you've already been entered, some of you already have, like Maria has, it has. I believe JL has.
Yeah.
A couple other people have as well. Just you would have needed to have commented and be following. Sunday is your last chance. If you comment on that video, you will be entered. So, but you need to be following us.
How are you going to review the show if you're going to drive to Philly?
I figured that I would just drive and review it.
That's not dangerous at all. No, it's really not. It's like
With which arm?
Well, I got one of those like little phone holders, you know?
Oh my God, you're going to be like one of those Republicans in the front seat of his car ranting.
No. All right. All right. On that note, I guess everybody, I would like to thank everyone for watching us so much here at the Market Down Podcast. We appreciate it if you liked and subscribe. If you like this episode, it lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing. We'll keep doing it. And as James mentioned, if you subscribe, you get entered into the autograph giveaway. Plus, you get all of our stuff here on the pod. We will obviously be here on Sunday for Dynasty, whether or not James is there or not. And by there, I mean at the show. James, you doing the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow?
95% yes.
Okay, well, even if he's not, but definitely want to subscribe if you're a TNA fan. As James reviews TNA every week in the Gym Pack Zone. We are going to probably try to cover some WWE stuff in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to WrestleMania. Maybe maybe it won't be live, but maybe we try to get a couple of videos out as we get a little close. And we will be covering Mania as well. So you want to subscribe for all of that. If you want to check us out on any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or Blue Sky, links all in the description here below here on YouTube. If you want to check us out on any of the other stuff, and I make this smaller, the producer boy ruined it all. He ruined it all. You can check us out at Market Down Pod on Instagram, and then how do I not have this memorized? There we go. At Market Down _pod on Twitter, at Market Down Pod on Instagram, youtube.com/marketdown3665 on YouTube, and then our Blue Sky is marketdownpod.bsky.social. And then, as I always mention, if you just search Market Down Podcast on any of those sites, you will be able to find us. Danny, anything before we get out of here?
Nope.
James, any last words?
I will see you guys definitely for Dynasty, and I will most likely see you guys tomorrow for Gym Packed.
All right. So on that note, for Dan Hernandez and James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Let's go, Matt. Let's go, Mets, and have a good one, everybody. Come on, opening days tomorrow. Leave me alone.